10864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion. And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
Give it to me, baby. My house. I'm taking it there.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
It is a great day to be a Duck. Oregon football has its new leader, Dan Lanning, who will be introduced at 2 o'clock Pacific time if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour. Duck Insider today essentially serves as the pregame show to the introductory press conference with comments from the likes of Jerry Allen, Rob Mullens, and of course the new leader of Oregon football himself, Dan Lanning. So if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, coming up on the Oregon football Facebook and Twitter pages, you can watch the press conference live there. We'll also have a ton of other content for you coming up on the Go Ducks YouTube page. You can watch the press conference with Coach Lanning live on the Go Ducks YouTube page. Rob Mullens will also speak with the media. A few Oregon football players will speak to the media. That is all coming up today. So if you're listening on one of our OSN affiliate stations later on, or if you're listening via the podcast, just know that tomorrow we will have Coach Lanning's press conference in its entirety for you on Duck Insider as we go through the highlights of everything the new leader for Oregon football has to say. Those are your programming notes. Rob Mullens, the Oregon Athletic Director, will be with us next segment. The Oregon AD is going to take some time out of his busy schedule that has been, frankly, a whirlwind. There's no doubt about that over the last week or so for the Oregon Athletic Director. Rob Mullens is going to take some time and join us next segment. Your comments and questions. What's everybody thinking about? And I hope that I already answered the first question that we got on the Facebook stream is Oregon football Facebook. So those of you who watch the Duck Insider show here on the Go Ducks Facebook, it'll be on the Oregon football Facebook, Oregon football Twitter, and then the Go Ducks YouTube as well. We are essentially your pregame show. All right, first question for everybody. Dan the Man is obviously the easiest one. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter be like, let's get in the Dan van. I don't know. We're going to have to ask the head coach that, right? We're going to have to see what Coach Lanning thinks because these are important questions that we have to ask. This morning, Oregon practice also in preparation for the Alamo Bowl. Coach Lanning was there, and he met with the team for the first time yesterday after landing in Eugene just before noon. Did his tour of the Hatfield-Allen complex, and he wanted to spend a lot of time with the Oregon football team, and that's what he is doing now before he will travel again, because he is going to coach with the University of Georgia in their college football playoff upcoming game over the next few weeks. Similarly, a lot of Oregon football coaches that have accepted other positions, they will be staying on staff. Many of them, if not all of them, we'll find out, will be staying on staff with the Ducks through the Alamo Bowl. So we have more on that coming up as the week progresses. And, of course, signing day is on Wednesday. That early signing period, it does create some different challenges for coaches during the carousel for programs. Signing day is on Wednesday. We'll have more on that coming up. And as the Ducks continue this week to prepare and practice for the Alamo Bowl, we'll have a lot more on that as the week moves forward. Of course, basketball going on as well. The Duck men's team with a rough loss last night. The women are in action tonight at 6 o'clock, and Terry Johns will have the call for you. The deep dive here for you on Dan Lanning, and then I will take a lot of time to answer your Facebook comments and questions. Douglas asking, have you met with existing coaches on the Duck team? When will you know who stays and goes? So that's a great question. Coach Lanning did meet with the team and the staff yesterday And we'll have more information, I think, on what the decisions are for various players, coaches, all those sorts of things over the next few days. Because now the hard part is building the staff for Coach Lanning. There's a lot of attention on you when you're going through the head coaching search, but now for the head coach in Coach Lanning, he's got to put his staff together. Answer more of your Facebook and Twitter, YouTube comments and questions here moving forward, but I want to do the deep dive on Dan Lanning. University of Oregon Athletic Director Rob Mullens announcing the hiring on Saturday, the 35th head football coach in program history, one of football's brightest young coaches and top defensive minds, now the head coach here in Eugene. Officially introduced coming up today at 2 o'clock if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour on the Oregon football social media and the GoDucks YouTube page. Rob Mullens said, quote, Dan is an outstanding, high-energy football coach who will provide a world-class experience for our football student-athletes. He is a tremendous recruiter and developer of talent, and we will continue to compete for championships while providing an environment where our football student-athletes can develop to their fullest potential in the classroom, on the football field, and as people. We are grateful for the opportunity to have Dan as the leader of our football program, and we look forward to the positive impact he will have on our student-athletes. We're excited to welcome Dan, Sophia, Caden, Niles, and Titan to the Oregon family. That's Rob Mullens, Oregon Athletic Director, on the new leader for the Ducks. Lanning has spent the last 4 seasons at Georgia, including the last 3 as defensive coordinator and outside linebackers coach, directing the top defense in the nation in 2021 while helping guide the Bulldogs to a 12-1 record and a spot in the college football playoff. In 3 seasons with Lanning coordinating the defense, Georgia leads the country in combined scoring defense at 13.5 points per game and rushing defense at 76.7 yards per game, while also ranking number 2 in total defense at 280.6. And Coach Lanning said, quote, I am honored and humbled to be selected to lead one of the premier programs in the nation at the University of Oregon. I want to personally thank President Schill, the Board of Trustees, Athletic Director Rob Mullens, and Mr. and Mrs. Knight for their trust in me. I'm excited to roll up my sleeves and get to work with our players in pursuit of championships. It is clear there is a vision and alignment within the entire Duck Nation. We are staged for success and look forward to building on the strong foundation that currently exists in Eugene. Our goal is to win championships and develop our players both on and off the field. I am overwhelmed with gratitude to Coach Kirby Smart and his wife, Mary Beth, and to every player, coach, staff member, and person at the University of Georgia who contributed to our success. I thank you. Go Ducks. Dan Lanning, the Oregon football head coach, a 2-time finalist for the Broyles Award as the nation's top assistant coach. Lanning joined Georgia in 2018 as outside linebackers coach before being promoted to defensive coordinator. Lanning first joined the collegiate ranks as a graduate assistant at Pittsburgh in 2011 and also has had stints at Arizona State, Sam Houston State, Alabama, and Memphis. Lanning has helped the Bulldogs to win 3 SEC division titles in 18, 19, and 21. 4 consecutive New Year's Six bowl games. He's been around a lot of success, Coach Lanning has. And zeroing in more on that defense, leading the nation in scoring defense this season by a wide margin at an outstanding 9.5 points per game. Dan Lanning is one of the top defensive minds that you will find, and the numbers completely back that up. Bulldogs are also number 1 in the FBS in red zone defense, while ranking 2nd in total defense and 3rd in both rushing and passing defense. All around, really, really good unit under Dan Lanning. Georgia also led the nation in scoring defense in 2019, which was his first year as the defensive coordinator. And he's coached some of the top defensive players in all of college football at Georgia. Just to name a few, you've got defensive tackle Jordan Davis, who recently won the Chuck Bednarik Award as the best defensive player in the country and the Outland Trophy as the top interior lineman. He's had a number of NFL draft picks. And I got to tell you, just looking at the guys that Coach Lanning has recruited, you can just see that he is one of the best recruiters in the country. Lanning joined Georgia after those 2 seasons at Memphis. Lanning helped Alabama go 14-1 in 2015. And he was the defensive backs coach and co-recruiting coordinator at Sam Houston State in 2014. And you can see that rise for Coach Lanning. And there's a reason that a lot has been written about him and the way that he goes about coaching defense schematically. And boy, with the talent that is on this Oregon football roster, I am excited to see what that looks like. He is the 3rd youngest coach in the FBS next season. A lot of young energy. And, of course, everybody wondering how this is going to play out. The Ducks will open against Georgia next year. How about that? So you're going to get Dan Lanning facing his old team after, hopefully, if you're an Oregon fan, I think you want to see Georgia win it all this year, right? That's Dan Lanning's team, as he is the new head coach for Oregon football. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, press conference coming up at 2 o'clock. You can watch it on the Oregon football Facebook, Twitter, or the Go Ducks YouTube channel. Duck Insider today, essentially your pregame show for that introductory press conference. I want to go in a little bit deeper on some of the notes on Dan Lanning and the way that his defense has performed. These were great. Coming from Rob Mosley, he did the research on these on Twitter. Power 5 leaders in points allowed per possession since he took over in 2019. Well, that would be Georgia at .95. They give up less than 1 point per possession. That's crazy. Oregon, for reference, 1.65 points per possession. That ranks the Ducks at 23rd in the country. Not too bad since 2019. Power 5 leaders in big plays allowed since Coach Lanning took over. Georgia's first at 8.43%. That's the number of big plays that they've allowed percentage-wise. The Ducks, though, have been really good in that category. Fifth at 10.69%. And then the Power 5 leaders in percentage of scoreless drives defended since he took over that Georgia defense. Georgia is number 1. Over 81% of the opposing drives that Dan Lanning has coordinated against, over 81% of them result in scoreless attempts. Oregon, for reference, 20th over the last few years at nearly 69%. We're going to check in with you fans. I see a bunch of you tuning in here in the 1 o'clock hour. Stick with me. I don't want to try to multitask and put together a bad show for you, and we're going to make this our best Twitter space that we possibly can. Because that is the modernization of the world that we're living in the coaching carousel. God, what an amazing thing over this past weekend. I know a lot of you want to hear from Rob Mullens. We're going to sit down with him next as we do the deep dive on Dan Lanning, the new leader of Oregon football. Rob Mullens joins us inside the Country Financial Studio next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Toyota-thon is on at your local Toyota dealer. Treat yourself to great deals on the sleek first-ever 2022 Corolla Cross or the powerful all-new 2022 Tundra. It's all happening right now during Toyota-thon. Toyota, let's go places.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Toyota-thon is on at your local Toyota dealer. Treat yourself to great deals on the sleek first-ever 2022 Corolla Cross or the powerful all-new 2022 Tundra. It's all happening right now during Toyota-thon. Toyota, let's go places.
Your daily dose of Oregon athletics. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio, and Rob Mullens is here. Rob, hey, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. We said at the start of the show that this was basically the pregame show for the introductory press conference, and today's an exciting day, isn't it?
It is an exciting day for Oregon football, for all of Oregon athletics. Obviously, to be able to attract somebody with Dan Lanning's background, and commitment to the student-athlete experience is very special.
Tell us about Coach Lanning. Why did he jump to the top of your list?
Well, everywhere you turned, here was a guy who's a brilliant strategist, right? We know that he knows strategy, historic defenses, and he's had some really unique experiences, some deep ones in some really, really successful programs. So he knows how to build culture. He's a strategist, and clearly he knows how to attract and develop talent. And when you can put all that together, that's how you win championships.
Your criteria, you talked about it with the media heading into this process. He fits that bill that you were looking for, it sounds like.
He really does. I mean, everything we do here, as we talk about often, is about the student-athlete experience first and foremost, and in building that support structure around him. And when you look at what Coach Lanning has done everywhere he's been, he puts the student-athletes at the core. And he even told the student-athletes when he met with them yesterday after their brief practice that's what it was going to be about. It was going to be about team first, and then it was going to be about them individually and all that he could do to support them. And I can tell you that he's been working around the clock. Even through the search process, he was on Eastern time. We were on Pacific time. We're talking in the middle of the night. He's in the middle of trying to host visits, and just really impressed.
Tell us about the hiring process. I mean, what was the week like for you? Because I can only imagine the whirlwind of a 7-day period.
Yeah, no, it really is a whirlwind, and it really wasn't even 7 days. So, Monday, we're standing before the team Monday morning, and Mario's announcing that he's leaving, and, we're explaining to them process and providing support for them, because that creates a lot of anxiousness in the student athletes. So Monday was really spent, getting everything settled with this, really for the student athletes, is a support structure in place, and then, determine who the interim is. And then you really crank up the search on Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we're talking to candidates. Thursday, Friday, follow-up conversations, gathering more intel. All these are on parallel paths. And then on Friday, you really drill down to the candidate or candidates that you really want to focus on.
How much has the early signing period changed these processes? I know that's kind of an obvious question.
No, I think it has changed. And obviously, not only the early signing period, but we were also in the conference championship game.
Right.
So, our coach made his personal decision kind of late in the game. And as you've seen throughout this year, a number of schools made changes within the regular season to get a jump on the process driven by the early signing period. For us, we were fortunate to be, win the North Division and be in a conference championships game. So our season was even extended a week beyond the regular season and butted right up, went into the final weekend for official visits, and then just a matter of days before the early signing period.
Rob Mullens joining us. Dan Lanning going to be introduced here coming up if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour at 2 o'clock Pacific time. You can watch it on the Oregon football social media and the Go Ducks YouTube. Fans who want to tune in, introducing the new leader for Oregon football. I think about the fact that you said your phone was ringing off the hook, right? And Coach Lanning has said some great things about how he really wanted to be here. How cool is that for you sitting in your chair to know that there's so much interest to join this program?
Well, I think it speaks to all those folks that have laid a great foundation, right? We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. And the calls were from people who were interested in the job and from every part of our constituent base, former players, donors, former coaches. And, the advice and input is always all over the board. So you have to try to triangulate all that. And get into the process and find the person who has the skill to be the next great leader for Oregon football. Fortunately, we had great choices, and we landed on the one that's best for us.
How did you kind of keep that narrow focus when you're hearing from all those different outside factors? How do you do that as a leader?
Well, I mean, obviously, I try to engage as best I can because, this is all about passion, right? Everyone is really passionate, and that's what we want. We want a passionate, and that's what makes us such a great Duck family is that passion. And so you want to engage as much as you can. You can't always engage with everybody exactly when they want. But I want to hear from folks who really, really care deeply about this program. And then obviously I'm using national contacts that I have, that others have, to kind of vet candidates and find out, take a deep dive on folks that we're talking to so that we know everything about them.
Well, I got to tell you, Rob, it was so fascinating for me being on the road with men's basketball for the latter part of this process, right? Because I felt like I was kind of like a fan in those moments. Like I wasn't here in the office, just kind of feeling that buzz. And
And then this thing called Twitter Spaces becomes a thing. And you joined one of those Twitter Spaces to talk with fans. I mean, Rob, I just got to tell you, I think as a Duck fan, which is really what I am first, I just appreciate you're doing that. You know, you're interacting with so many different people.
Yeah, and you do it throughout the process, right? I mean, well, even starting before the process, you know, there's just a lot of folks weighing in again, and it's what makes Oregon football great. There's just a ton of passion. I didn't even know what Twitter Spaces was, Joey, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The reality is, you know, we had been in a long process, you know, losing track of time and days. You know, you're just going around the clock. And you know, we had the contract done and did all the work, and I went home, and my wife and kids happened to be listening to it, and
Sure.
I didn't even, I mean, they explained to me what it was, and then through conversation said, you know, you should, you know, I was just saying how thankful I was for the Duck Nation, and they said, you should go on there, you know, there's a lot of folks on here, I don't know how many are on there, and
About 1,500 at
and
least.
share that, because I was sharing it in the confines of our living room with my wife and boys, how appreciative I was of all the support and passion. And so, you know, I just went on. Well, ironically, I hit request to speak. I don't know how all this works. And there was a lot of banter, and I said, this isn't going to work. So I unrequested, listened for a little bit more, and there was a little bit of a lull, so I requested again. And then just had an opportunity to say thanks. It was really neat.
Yeah, I think it's amazing for me working, obviously, in the profession that I do. Like, I often joke, Rob, that I'm a professional regurgitator. Like, I just listen to people that are a lot smarter than me and then say that out here on the air. And I like the best shows that we have are ones where we get comments from fans, and I'm able to interact and do those things. And I just think that's cool to see that level of passion. And you know, I say this sort of tongue-in-cheek all the time, like, man, isn't it awesome where you get positive and negative feedback, but at least you're getting a lot of feedback from people. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and again, you know, kind of back to where we started this conversation, is about the student-athletes, and to have a couple of a few student-athletes' parents in there sharing
That's
how
cool.
what a great experience their young men are having is pretty neat, and to hear from some of them even afterwards that's what this is all about, right? You know, it's about these young people and their experience, and you know, everybody. It's anxiousness about it. People feel like it's taken forever. It took 5 days.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, if you consider we really started on Monday night, Tuesday, we really had this started negotiating Friday night with Dan's agents, but we were going to negotiate all night. But Dan's agents happened to be based in Memphis, and if you follow the Weather Channel, they were in a bunker because of tornadoes.
Jeez.
So, you know, we kind of had to take a pause from, you know, Friday night, late, maybe even early Saturday morning until really early Saturday morning because they were in a bunker.
Didn't feel like 5 days for you, though, did it?
No, it didn't feel like. I don't even know what day it is.
Rob Mullens joining us. You know, just a couple more things about Coach Lanning. And now the work begins for him, right? He'll be introduced here coming up at 2 o'clock. Time to build a staff and recruiting, all those things now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, there's a lot of attention when you're in the middle of a search for the head coach, but there is far more work that takes place after the decision is made and the hire is made to building out a staff. Sure. And, you know, when we had a chance to visit with Dan, you know, he clearly articulates a vision about building championships, and that starts with people. And he you know, he's hard at work at it already. You know, his number one priority when he arrived here is I want to spend as much time with the players as I can. If they're in or around the building, I'm going to be in or around the building. And in between that, then I'm going to start building this staff.
And he did that yesterday, right? You mentioned it earlier. He spent a lot of time with the team yesterday.
He sure did. I mean, we came from the airport directly to the building. In fact, Jimmy even had to pick up Chipotle for Sophia and the kids because they were starving.
Well done, Jimmy.
So, you know, and what a great way for, 11, 10, and 8-year-olds to take them up to the 6th floor in the Players Lounge of the Hatfield-Dallas complex. But he hit the ground running, you know, staff meeting, team meeting, practice, then started doing individual meetings with players, had dinner with them. You know, we had some great Phil Y'all's barbecue.
Yeah.
And, you know, he said, hey, it's just awesome to break bread with these kids. Again, he's all about the student athlete.
You can read more about it. Mosley followed everybody around. You can read it on GoDucks.com. And one of the things that I loved is that he sat down and then players start to gravitate toward that table.
Eric Rodell and I were in there watching, you know, waiting our turn to get into some of that Phil Y'all's barbecue because, man, it sure is good. I lost my train of thought there.
Gravitating toward the table, yeah.
That's right. I'm hungry. And it was fun to watch them kind of weave in and out because Dan just went by himself, found a central seat, and just started engaging, and it was pretty spectacular.
Now, of course, for student athletes, they are practicing. They practiced this morning and prepping for an Alamo Bowl. So it is an odd period now, right, where you kind of have two things going on in parallels with the future and the current student athlete, but that's what it's about, is the student athlete.
It is about the student athlete, and I just want to say it on here, huge appreciation for Brian McClendon and what he's doing as our interim head coach. He's doing a phenomenal job, and Brian's an A-plus person, and to watch him run practice yesterday and address the team after, he's just stepped right in, and he's organized, has a clear vision for this group to finish strong. And all of our assistants, Ken Wilson got the head coach at Nevada. How cool is that? But he's coming back because he wants to finish it right for these young people too. So, they're in full prep.
That's awesome to see. I feel like with having a bowl experience for the student athletes with the team you're currently at, even if you get that promotion and that new job, this is my opinion, Rob, I like when coaches come back and stay and finish out the process.
Yeah, I do too. And obviously, Dan had that decision to make, and we fully supported. He's got he's part of a team that's in a playoff, and because I agree with you 100%. This all started a year ago, this process to get to a bowl game. And our student athletes, while we went to the Fiesta Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl did everything they possibly could, it wasn't a normal bowl experience. These young people deserve a fantastic bowl experience. And San Antonio and the Alamo Bowl and Derek Fox is one of the best. So we want to do everything that we can to absolutely deliver a phenomenal experience for these young people. And I'm just so appreciative of all the coaches who've come back, even though they've gotten other opportunities to finish it out with these young people.
Rob Mullens, Oregon Athletic Director. One more for you, Rob. It'll be the last time that we talk with you on the show this calendar year. We actually were scheduled, months ago, we had it scheduled that Rob was going to come on Tuesday, tomorrow. Today's Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
tomorrow was going to be our last regular Athletic Director segment, and well, then, the whirlwind takes place. So this will be the last time that we talk with you. I just want to give you the opportunity to kind of give you the state of the program. I always like to ask you to do that every December. Just state of the program, state of the athletic department as we head toward a new year.
Yeah, I think if you'll rewind whatever it was 18 months ago, we wanted to survive the pandemic and then thrive coming out. And I think what you've seen here this fall is just that. We had a lot of difficult decisions through that pandemic, but the family really came together in a big way. We found a way through it with lots of bumps and some bruises. But man, we are accelerating out of it, and we've had a great fall. We've got an incredible group of student athletes and staff, and I'm looking forward to 2022 and that continuation on to normal.
I like that. I like that a lot. Rob Mullens, Oregon Athletic Director. Rob, thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
Your leadership.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking the time, and enjoy the day.
Yeah, no, I'm fired up. Go Ducks.
Go Ducks. All right, when we come back, we're going to take some of your comments and questions, catch up on everything. Give me a break to do so. We're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
It is slow in the comment section right now. I thought for sure that you guys would have way more to say and that it would just be wild and all over the place. But no, I'm kidding. Look, Rob said it best, and I've said this from the beginning. You heard me mention it to him. Positive, negative, whatever. The fact that there is feedback and there is passion and there are opinions, that's why it's fun to work at a place like this. And I'm going to take off the Oregon hat for a second, all right? This is just me talking, and I've been reading, I've been listening to all of the comments, been listening to some Twitter Spaces, and God, what an introduction to what the Spaces could do for Twitter, right? I mean, I think shout out to the fans that got the Twitter Spaces going, and then they just went nuts. I mean, I loved it. So, I thought that it was great to be able to hear from everybody, because those are the best shows that I do. It's when I'm sitting here listening to your guys' comments and reading, and we get a chance to kind of just dive through everything with everybody. And I love that. That is the best part of my job. And you guys have all heard me say this. No one cares what I think. Everybody wants to hear from the coaches and the student athletes, and that's what we're going to do. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, Dan Lanning, the Oregon football head coach, he will be formally introduced. Jerry Allen is emceeing the press conference coming up at 2 o'clock. You can watch it live on the Go Ducks YouTube. You can watch it live on the Oregon football Facebook and on the Oregon football Twitter. Duck Insider today, those of you who might be new, we do this show every day. We interact with all of you, and we have a lot to say because the Ducks have been pretty darn successful. So what we're now getting ready for is essentially the pregame show ahead of Coach Lanning being introduced. I think that it's awesome to see the community that has gotten behind Coach Lanning. I also think that it's important to recognize that this is the guy, right? This is the guy that Rob Mullens has said, he is our guy. Dan Lanning is the head coach moving forward, and I just can't wait to see what he is up to. Kyle's asking me an important question. Give your thoughts on Lanning's brother. So those of you that haven't seen, the Ducks have seen this just take off in the Oregon coaching search. So my understanding, and I'll be honest, so I was getting ready for men's basketball over the weekend. So Coach Lanning actually had his brother at one point in one of the Oregon Twitter Spaces, which is just awesome. I mean, honestly, everybody, like Kyle's asking that question, I don't even know what to say about that. Like, it was such a surreal thing to watch fans be able to interact with everybody. That's what it's all about, man. Like, that's what it's all about. And that's – this is a great comment, too, from Roxanne. Defense wins championships. I heard somebody earlier in the comments mention that like, man, you got guys like Brent Venables going from Clemson as defensive guy to Oklahoma. Freeman going to Notre Dame, being promoted as the defensive coordinator. Like, isn't it amazing that for a long period there in college football, it was like offense. And now I feel like maybe that pendulum is swinging back toward defense. I mean, look at what Coach Lanning has done with his Georgia defenses. It's awesome. They're the best defense in the country the last 3 years. And they certainly deserve a lot of credit, and Coach Lanning deserves a lot of that credit. Someone else mentioned this, and I'm sorry, I've lost track of keeping up with who said what in the comments. I'm trying to take care of everything. But maybe the best part of any process like this is when the former boss has something nice to say, right? Like, we've all been there, right? Like, you're going on to another job. The best thing that you can have is your current boss say, this is awesome, we love this, we're excited for this individual, and that's exactly what Kirby Smart said. And if you don't have respect for what Kirby Smart has done at Georgia, then you're not watching football. And Kirby Smart was like, this is awesome for Coach Lanning, this is great for him and his family, and we wish him nothing but the best. What else is there to know then? I mean, Kirby Smart was like, yeah, this is great. This is awesome. So to all of you fans who had that interaction with everybody and just all the fun that was had, now let's celebrate that, shall we? Like, this is going to be awesome to see what Coach Lanning can build here. And look, I should say, those of you who are wondering about what the future is going to hold now, the Ducks are practicing for the Alamo Bowl. Ducks are practicing for the Alamo Bowl right now. They actually practiced this morning. Coach Lanning was there, wanted to see the way that the team worked out, hence the 2 o'clock press conference. That's actually why the schedule got set the way that it did, because Coach Lanning wants to maximize his time with the Oregon football team while he's here. And then signing day is on Wednesday. Now that obviously is a big-time day, and who knows what Wednesday is going to hold. We'll have more info for you on Wednesday when all the letters of intent come in. We'll be able to introduce you to that new recruiting class. But you heard Rob Mullens mention it. That is a really, really big deal. And it's certainly changed the way that all of this in the coaching carousel progresses. It's going to be really odd. John asking a good question. Will he be on the sidelines during the bowl game? I don't know the answer to that. Coach Lanning might get asked that at his press conference coming up at 2 o'clock if you're live with us. But I think I'm trying to think about the schedule for the college football playoff, because remember, he will stay coaching with Georgia through the college football playoff. We heard Rob talk about that, and Rob Mullens, again, fully endorses that. He likes that. Just like guys that are on this current Oregon staff that was under Coach Cristobal, a lot of them are staying to coach through the bowl game, right? So all in all, I think it would, I don't know if Coach Lanning will be on the sideline for that Alamo Bowl, but the schedule is such that he'll be kind of doing two jobs at once. And, here's something that I was thinking about during this process. One guy who actually did two jobs at once in a really high-level situation, if I'm not mistaken, Kirby Smart, when he became the head coach at Georgia, Kirby Smart was still the defensive coordinator at Alabama through the playoff that year. I'm 90% positive that he did that. So if anybody knows about that process, it's the current head coach at Georgia in Kirby Smart. All right, I'm trying to keep up with everybody in the comment section. Thanks for the interaction. I'm going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll have more of your reaction. Going to talk about Coach Lanning. And then, it's the pregame show for the football introductory press conference, but we do have some basketball, actually, that happened over the weekend that we can talk about, too. And basketball tonight, it's game day for Oregon women's basketball. Back after this, more Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey cheesy crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously, but as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
This is Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Neil Armstrong waited 6 hours and 39 minutes to step onto the surface of the moon. Jackie Robinson waited 20 months to play his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And even DiCaprio had to wait 22 years to win an Oscar. You can wait until your destination. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org,
A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Back on Nugget Cider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Oregon going to introduce the new head coach of Oregon football, Dan Lanning, here coming up at 2 o'clock. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, Go Ducks YouTube has you covered, as well as the Oregon football Facebook and the Oregon football Twitter. Duck Insider today essentially serving as your pregame show for that press conference that many of our Oregon Sports Network affiliate stations will be carrying it live at 2 o'clock. But I should also point out, those of you who tune in to Duck Insider later on in the day, maybe at 3 o'clock in Medford, 6 o'clock in Eugene in the evening, in Portland as well in the evening in Salem, or if you listen on the podcast, just know that for those of you in our audio audience, that's a fun phrase. In our audio-only audience, we do have the show live every day from 1 to 2. So the podcast form of the show tomorrow, for those of you who get in the podcast form, we'll have the full press conference from Coach Lanning's introduction. There's also going to be a number of Oregon football players that will speak with the media. Rob Mullens will speak with the media, and you heard him on the show earlier today. That's all still to come on tomorrow's edition of Duck Insider. Just the way that the timing worked out today, because the Ducks are having the press conference following this morning's practice. Remember, so Coach McClendon is the interim head football coach right now for the Ducks, getting ready for the Alamo Bowl, and Oregon is going through practice. We will have a Quack Minute for you. If not today, Rob and I are going to try to get one for you today, tell you a little bit about what happened in practice, and you'll find that, as always, on the Oregon football Facebook and the Oregon football Twitter. But we will definitely have Quack Minutes and more reports for you tomorrow ahead of Wednesday's signing day, and then Thursday and Friday planning to be talking about this team preparing for the Alamo Bowl. And look, I do just want to say, this is a weird time. You heard me ask Coach Mullens. I mean, he's essentially the head coach of the entire athletic department. You heard me ask Athletic Director Rob Mullens about that. Like, you kind of have, like, two parallel paths here, right? Like, you have the current staff and the current student-athletes that are preparing for the Alamo Bowl, all while Coach Lanning is getting his staff ready to then go into the future for Oregon football. So there's going to be a lot of, I feel like, kind of parallel storylines for all of this going on. And I think that those parallel storylines are one that over the next week on Duck Insider, we'll be kind of able to digest it, and as it goes all the way further into the future for Oregon football. But it's an exciting day. And I know a lot of you are asking questions that quite frankly, I'm going to let Rob Mullens answer. Rob will be talking with the media today during the press conference, and I know a lot of you have questions about that. A lot of other things throughout the process. Rob's going to get all of these questions coming up, and we'll have that for you tomorrow on the show. But as I've said a lot of different times, and everybody who watches and listens to the show regularly knows that, you know, I'm not a traditional media guy, right? Like, this is obviously Duck Insider. We're inside the Casanova Center. That's why it's called Duck Insider, the headquarters for Oregon Athletics. You know, I wear an O on my chest, and there's a lot of things that, frankly, it's just not my place to discuss. And that's why the media can ask Rob some of those questions here coming up. So those of you who are wondering about that, more info to come on a lot of different topics, I'm sure. Shout out also, again, Tony said Twitter Space is undefeated this week. No doubt about it. I mean, and Coach Graves mentioned this as well. And by the way, Coach Graves, it's women's basketball game day against McNeese State, 5:30 pregame on the Oregon Sports Network, and a 6 o'clock tip tonight at Matthew Knight Arena. KG was like, man, Twitter Spaces, this is like, it gives you whole new ideas for post-game press conferences. I mean, it does, right? It's almost like it's so funny in the world that we live in now. Zoom press conferences became a normal thing, right? It became a normal thing with Zoom press conferences. And the Zoom press conference world that we're in, the Twitter Spaces almost felt like it was a Zoom press conference that didn't have a passcode, right? Like you could just connect to it and do it. It's almost like the modernization of that. It's really, really interesting. Jonathan asking, is the press conference going to be on this program? So Duck Insider, every day we do the show live from 1 to 2. Those of you who are watching on YouTube is where Jonathan commented. So, Jonathan, no, there will be a separate stream for Coach Lanning's introductory press conference. The reasoning is after the fact, on demand. You can then watch Duck Insider as you normally would from 1 to 2 on demand. And there will also be Coach Lanning's introductory press conference. So there will be a separate program. Those of you who are watching on YouTube right now, just be aware that there will be another YouTube stream via the GoDucks YouTube where you can tune in live for Coach Lanning. Similarly speaking, for the GoDucks Facebook and the Oregon Sports Network Twitter, it will be on the Oregon football social media channels for Facebook and Twitter. That is the plan here coming up for the Ducks. So moving forward with Coach Lanning, the next steps, putting together a staff. I'm sure that he'll get a lot of questions about that here coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. He's also going to get a number of questions about what he looks for in recruits, how he attacks the recruiting trail. And I've been talking about the signing day, right? Signing day is Wednesday, but that's the beginning of the early signing period. So following that early signing period, it's then the first Wednesday in February. So for the Ducks over the last few years, the biggest signing day has really been the early signing day. The Ducks have completed the class in February, but it's been the early signing day that means the most, right? Well, with a new head coach, I think that it's safe to say that there's a really, really, really important date in February that a lot of Oregon fans can be looking at. Because, as you can imagine, with a change in leadership, if I was a recruit, I'd be thinking the same thing, right? Like, well, maybe I'm going to take my time. That's part of why there's those 2 signing days. So we'll see what happens on the recruiting trail. Those of you who have not heard me say this before, it would be an NCAA compliance violation for me to sit here and talk about individual recruits. I wish, to be completely honest with all of you, I wish that we could do that more on the show. I wish that we could talk about the recruiting trail on the show because it's the future, right? And it's what the coaches get so excited about. They want to bring in the right young men to their program and then build things moving forward. Well, I wish that we could, but we can't talk about specific recruits until that letter of intent actually comes in. Maybe that'll change with NCAA compliance moving forward, but to be honest with you all, I like getting a paycheck and not having an NCAA compliance violation show up in my email inbox. So bear with me on that one, will you? Because that's just the truth. But so that's going to be the first step, though, is putting together this recruiting class, and then it's putting together the entire staff. So there will be a lot of announcements over the next few weeks and maybe even beyond that to really hone in on what this staff is going to look like. That's the plan anyway moving forward. Hey, speaking, though, of the current Ducks, Kayvon Thibodeau and Verone McKinley. So amongst all of this, there's still some postseason awards that are being given out. And today, the Associated Press All-Americans came out. Kayvon Thibodeau, first-teamer. Verone McKinley, first-teamer. Now, for Verone McKinley, this is his second first-team All-American. He's a second-team All-American, according to one list. The Associated Press is the third organization, as Kayvon Thibodeau goes 3 for 3. The Associated Press is the third organization to give Kayvon Thibodeau a first-team honor. The Walter Camp organization gave Verone McKinley and Kayvon Thibodeau as well first-team selections. But Verone McKinley was a second-teamer, according to the Football Writers Association, and Kayvon Thibodeau a first-teamer there. There is a strong possibility that Kayvon Thibodeau will be a consensus first-team All-American, and there's a very good possibility that he will be a unanimous first-team All-America selection. The next 2 All-America lists, by the way, will be announced tomorrow and on Wednesday. So we're going to have some more postseason awards to tell you about amongst all these other storylines going on around Oregon football because, I mean, wow, congratulations, though, to Kayvon Thibodeau and Verone McKinley. I mean, KT, imagine what the season would have been like for KT if he had a injury-free season. Just, like, you think back to the Ducks in Columbus, Kayvon Thibodeau didn't play in that game. I mean, it's wild, considering that his numbers stack up as one of the best defensive players in the country, and he missed time, significant time. Not like he missed a game or a quarter or two here. He missed a lot more than that. And then Verone McKinley, and just they call him the general. He is the general. He's absolutely the general for this team. And Verone McKinley, the nation's leader in interceptions, the Ducks may end up with a unanimous first-team All-American and a consensus first-team All-American in Kayvon Thibodeau, Verone McKinley. We will find out more as things progress for Oregon football and the selections for postseason awards this week. Jack asking, did Thibodeau have enough playing time to deserve the honors? Absolutely. I mean, again, he missed time, and he still got rankings in the top 5 in sacks, tackles for loss. I mean, and he graded out as the best pass rusher according to Pro Football Focus, if I'm not mistaken, at least in the top 3. So, yeah, he was really, really good. All right, I'm going to catch up on some of your comments and questions, more details as we approach the 2 o'clock press conference. We are located, by the way, in the Casanova Center, and then just across the courtyard in the Hatfield-Allen Complex Theater, Dan Lanning is going to be introduced as the 35th head football coach in University of Oregon history. I'm really looking forward to it. So once we wrap up here, I will be testing my time on how fast I can get up to the theater to see it. And those of you who are watching live, you'll be able to see it on a different YouTube stream and on the Oregon Football Facebook and Twitter as well. All right, quick time out. Going to catch up on some of your comments, make sure that I didn't miss anything. We'll dive into a bit of basketball too. Still some other sports going on. Big day. Dan Lanning about to be introduced here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, football is back! So consider this your official excuse for always putting football watching first, courtesy of Pepsi. That haircut appointment? Seeing the in-laws for the first time in ages.
It's been so long!
Nope, sorry Susan, not if it's on Sunday. Long story short, after the year we've all had, we think you could use a little football watching. So crack open a Pepsi and cheer your football watching face off. With love, Pepsi. Made for football watching. That's what I like.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s, like go back to college, learn to skateboard. Whoa. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. At aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a free 3-minute chat with the friendly digital retirement coach, Avo, and receive personalized tips to help boost your savings. Start chatting with Avo today at aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse? Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam, ran right into the side of the saloon. Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack back with you. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. We're here in the Country Financial Studio. Jerry Allen will be emceeing the press conference coming up. For those of you live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, Go Ducks Facebook, Go Ducks Twitter. Excuse me. See, I'm already crossing wires for you. Go Ducks YouTube. Those of you who are tuning in right now to Duck Insider, there will be a different link and a different stream for Dan Lanning's introductory press conference. The reasoning is we do Duck Insider every day, and we wanted the two to be separate, if you will, for on-demand purposes when people search for it on YouTube. That's really our reasoning. So I just posted the link that should be the Dan Lanning press conference coming up. We'll have more details for you, though. And if any wires get crossed on our end with 2 streams going to YouTube, just know that if you go to the GoDucks YouTube, you're going to see the current live press conference, which will be Dan Lanning coming up here in just a few minutes. Jerry Allen will MC it. You'll hear from Rob Mullens. Going to hear from Dan Lanning himself, taking questions from the media. And, well, it's a new day. It's a big day. Look, this is an exciting time. Anytime there's a change like this, I think you got to look at it as an opportunity. And that's what it is. It's an opportunity for Dan Lanning to come in and, frankly, do something really special. He has said already since being on campus that he is very, very excited about this opportunity because he wanted to come to Oregon. This is one of the brightest young coaches in college football, if not the brightest. He wanted to come to Oregon, and the Ducks got him. The Ducks got their man. So that's exciting, you know? I think that it's cool to hear those sorts of comments from a coach because – you know, the easy thing to say is, well, it's Oregon. Yeah, but it's also, this place is special. That's what Dan Lanning has said so far since being here. So I'm excited to hear what the new head man has to say. So if anybody has any last-minute questions, I appreciate it. I have gotten the opportunity to do a lot of different things in my career. And, you know, I got to tell you, doing a pregame show for a press conference, man, you don't do very many of these. So the Oregon Football Facebook, for our Facebook audience, if you switch over to there, at 2 o'clock we'll have the press conference. And then I also believe that I can do this and post, yep, I think we can do that. It's coming from my personal Facebook, which is probably a bad thing. But, you know, in case anybody's wondering, on the YouTube link as well, because it's going to be there. Also, it will be carried on the Pac-12 Network. For those of you who would like to tune in that way, you can tune in and see it there as well. That's at least our plan here moving forward. You know, I didn't know if we'd have enough time to get to a little bit of basketball, as the Ducks made a nice comeback yesterday, but then fell short on a buzzer beater, and Coach Altman had some frustrating comments post-game that the Ducks just didn't make enough plays and didn't communicate well enough defensively. So with the men's team, they're going to look to bounce back later on this week. And women's basketball got a nice win against Long Beach. They got back to their winning ways. Coach Graves, I think, was pretty happy with the way that the Oregon women performed against Long Beach State with a 68-59 win. Players like Elise Hurst, a really nice day. 19 points, 6 of 9 shooting, couple rebounds, couple of assists. And I bring all that up because they're in action tonight. Normally on Duck Insider on a day like today, we would be going all in on women's basketball preview and basketball. But, of course, this is a big day for Oregon football with the introduction of Dan Lanning. But again, 6 o'clock tonight, Oregon women's basketball against McNeese State. You can tune in via the Oregon live stream. Terry Johns will have the call both on the live stream and on the Oregon Sports Network. More details, goducks.com/OSN. Hey, thanks to everybody. A lot more still to download on. We're going to do that tomorrow. Rob Mullens, Dan Lanning, they're all going to meet with the media coming up here live in the 2 o'clock hour if you're live with us for Duck Insider. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate the interaction, everybody. Always fun. Always fun. See you tomorrow.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.